The Sweet Sound of Success show is brought to you by the Mentor Studio. The Mentor Studio is an exclusive mentoring and training program for social influencers, business owners, entrepreneurs, coaches, and startups, bringing personal development to the underserved around the world. And brought to you by Success Strategists. Simple strategies that work to develop your business with flow and ease using proven strategies and the right tactics. This is the Sweet Sound of Success with Sue Wilhite, Success Attraction Expert. Cheryl Stelte has been a spiritual entrepreneur for over 2 decades. As a spiritual coach, healer, speaker, and teacher, she is passionate about healing and empowerment. Her deep desire to empower women blossomed in her spiritual interior design business, providing skills and building confidence in the women she hired. Later, she was led to live with primitive tribes, the Maasai in Kenya and the Shuar in Ecuador, where she did all she could do to empower the women. She is the founder of the Energy Healing and Empowerment Program, where she teaches others how to become powerful online energy healers. She is also the best-selling author of 2 wonderful books, Client Magnet and The Coach's Guide to Attract Ideal Clients Through Spiritual Awareness, and Heal Your Neck Issues and Let Your Throat Chakra Shine. Welcome, Cheryl. I'm so thrilled you're on my show.
Hello, Sue. I am so happy to be here with you. It's just such an honor, and I just love what you bring to the world, to
Well,
humanity.
back at you. We've been kind of circling each other in the speaker community that we're part of and going, oh, we need to connect. Finally, it's working. So yay, so glad to have you. So for my viewers and listeners of the show, you might be wondering, what the heck is the hero's journey for the entrepreneur's soul? Well, I am taking 5 pieces out of the 16-part cycle that Joseph Campbell created in The Hero with 1,000 Faces. And those 5 pieces are the ordinary beginning, the call to action, what brought Cheryl into this, the big hairy monsters that all entrepreneurs, and in fact, pretty much everybody on the planet, but in particular, entrepreneurs have some fun, big hairy monsters to deal with. And 2 pieces of the entrepreneur's journey that I think are super important and absolutely critical for people to myth bust as much as possible. And the first one is what Joseph Campbell calls the allies and guides. And I want to make it clear that all of us entrepreneurs, in order to be successful, we need allies, guides, coaches, mentors, friends, helpers, wind beneath our wings, because we can't do it by ourselves. It just isn't possible. And finally, Joseph Campbell's The Journey Home, which is described in his work as once the hero has gone off and battled the Dark Lord and killed the giant and come back down out of the beanstalk or what have you, he's changed, or she has changed. And there's a difference. And not everybody else has been on that journey and had that transformation. And so how do other people handle that? And in fact, how do you handle that transformation when everybody else around you might not have? So that being said, Cheryl, what was your ordinary beginning?
Oh, my ordinary beginning was I had been suffering from depression for some time. I was diagnosed. It was the in thing back then. Uh, a long time ago. And the strangest thing happened. I was on the beach with my friend who was doing kinesiology on me. And she was not a channeler or a medium, nothing like that. And my deceased brother showed up. He had committed suicide, and
Oh,
I could feel his presence. I'd never had that kind of experience in my life. I was not a spiritual person. I believed in God, didn't go to church, and I could feel the most overwhelming love I had ever felt. And there
oh,
was just all this light above me. And I kept waiting for her as she's doing this practice on me on the beach. And she suddenly says, "Your brother's here." I said, "I know." She didn't even know I had a deceased brother. And he talked through her. And the long and the short of it was, he said he was bipolar and had never been diagnosed. And his message to me was to start meditating. I
cool.
thought he wanted me to meditate so that I would be able to communicate with him. So when I went back home, I was phoning these meditation places and they would say, "Oh yeah, we have meditation classes. Why do you want to learn to meditate?" And I would say, "So I could speak with my deceased brother."
Not what they were after.
Well, nobody had that. And
Right.
then, and then I went into an office building a few days later, into this small building for something else, and there was a sign on the door that said meditation classes starting, whatever night. And so I signed up, and I didn't say the reason anymore, and I started meditating. And what happened in a very short period of time was, I think that I was on antidepressants, and I was eventually able to communicate with my brother.
Hmm.
Told me I could get off the antidepressants. And I was like, holy smokes. And long story short, I got off the antidepressants and never had to go back. And, but I thought my medication is my meditation. So I
Right.
thought I have to meditate the rest of my life, because if I stopped for a period of time, which did happen a couple times, I would start to go downhill again. So I just have always meditated. And so that was my start. That was
Yeah.
my open door to spirituality.
Right. Right. Oh my goodness. Yeah. And for those of you who are listening, if you have been or suspect that you are uh, suffering from depression or bipolar, meditation is a really good thing to start, like right now. Like, no kidding, just do it. There are reams of studies out there from everywhere, from Scripps to Harvard to John Hopkins to London to Tokyo to everywhere, says meditation is the number one mental health aid there is. So just do it. So
Thank you. I
anyway,
agree.
back to you, Cheryl. Plug for meditation.
And so
So
I just got going from there.
yeah. So were you an entrepreneur at that point, or did that move you into that realm? What happened?
Well, that's an interesting question, and I haven't thought of it from the perspective of being an entrepreneur and starting to meditate, because I didn't go into spiritual work for some time, but it was soon after that I started to really follow my intuition. I
Mhm.
really started to absolutely follow my heart. And I was working at a nonprofit organization, and I knew I had to leave. And I was considering what kind of work I wanted to do, what I might go back to. And before that, I had been an entrepreneur. I guess my starting point was I was a fashion designer to a certain extent, and I would do all the sewing and everything myself. So I would do,
Wow.
pattern drafting and design, and I worked from home, and I had gotten a big contract to do 60 all-girl marching band uniforms that had the blazer, two blouses,
Right.
pair of pants, the full skirt, the cummerbund, the whole 9 yards. And
Beautiful.
I absolutely had huge opposition in that my husband was not happy of around how much time this was taking. And he got drunk one night and threatened to throw my sewing machine out the window.
Oh,
I'll never forget it. I said, go ahead, I'll buy another machine.
okay, good response.
He wasn't very nice to me. I was a very different person then. So I continued to do. I did that work and loved it, but it didn't work for me to be at home. It was too hard on. It was too hard on me to have him as a husband. And of course, I eventually worked outside the home and left him. So here I was working for this nonprofit, and I'm meditating all the time, and I'm starting to pay attention to synchronicities and that sort of thing. Well, then I was guided to study interior design. So here I am, a single mother with two teenagers.
Oh my.
And I had walked into the store, and here was this course calendar for a local college for this short interior design interior design program. And I kept getting drawn to this calendar, and I'm trying to go out the door, and I'm like, I'm not going to school. I am surviving here. And I went out, and I kept getting, you've got to pick that thing up. So I went back in the store, fine. I grabbed it, put it in my bag, and went home. And I got home and made myself a cup of tea and looked at the calendar, and I opened it right up to this interior design program. I was like, oh my God, that's what I did on my Saturday nights. I would have a glass of wine and decorate my house while I'd be, waiting for the call to go pick up my kids somewhere and that sort of thing. And I read it, and I went to an info session, and I just knew I had to do it. And I went to the bank, and they gave me all the money to go. And then I said, well, how am I going to make the payments on this loan? Oh, we're going to loan you the money to make the payments. I'm like, are you kidding me? So I couldn't say no. And so I did the program. I got the overall completion award. And I started my own business right out of the gate. Wow. And I did a lot of different things. I applied my skills to making custom slip covers, and I did consultations and painting, and got the whole thing going, and had the business going for 10 years. And then what I really did, I brought my spirituality into the business.
Right.
So I was practicing shamanism then. I could receive a lot of guidance for the right clients who wanted guidance around changes to be made for their homes. And I would do space clearing, house blessings. I trained in a lot of different modalities, and so used that through. So it didn't start off as as a spiritual business, but went that route very, very quickly. And I called it Stelte Design, designing for the soul.
Aw, nice. Yeah. And so when you were doing that's not what you ended up with, though. That was just another one of those lovely, what I call them, stepping stones along the way. You think you've gotten there, and then something else happens. And so how did you get from interior design to where you are now?
Well, like I said, I brought my spirituality into my work, and I did work with some clients, but I also through that time taught meditation, various people, small groups, that sort of thing, did it part-time. And I would do shamanic work with people. And I had a friend of mine who kept saying, you're a healer and a spiritual teacher. What are you doing? I'd be like, yeah, right. I have enough trouble keeping up with myself, let alone, really helping others. But I continued to do that work, and then people would just sort of come to me. And so I kept going with it. And then I ended up connecting with a particular spiritual school and became one of their senior teachers on the faculty. I did all their trainings. I co-facilitated some retreats, group retreats of 40, 50 people, and I've done a lot of personal meditation retreats for people, taught a lot of programs, that sort of thing. And and then it just becomes the full-time work, right?
That's great. So what were some of the big hairy monsters that you got to play with, dance with? I mean, as a shamanic practitioner, this is why I changed my language with,
I love the term.
right? How did you defeat the big hairy monster? You don't defeat him, you play with him.
The
You
big hairy monster, and yeah, the, the big hairy monster, and this is one of the things that I love to help people with, especially women, because it's like through all the work I've done, it's really been about empowerment, where I couldn't empower myself, so I had to learn how to do it, how to step into my own personal power. So after I did a 1 week personal meditation retreat where I didn't see anybody or talk to anybody. And I had the coolest experiences. I was meditating 11 to 14 hours a day.
woo,
Yeah. I had frozen all these meals so I wouldn't have to cook. It was
yeah,
just sleep and meditate and eat and sleep and meditate and eat. And at the end, and I was so strongly guided at the end of that meditation retreat that I'm a spiritual teacher. Well, that was so out, I couldn't handle it. I just bawled my eyes out. I'm like, it's impossible. This can't be. There's no way. What will people think if I call myself that? Who do I think? All the resistance. And it was so hard for me to deal with. And I actually could not pursue it. And I got really sick. So
mm,
my big hairy monster was ended up being chronic illness. And then I was led to do other things. Well, I wasn't led, I chose to do other things and continued to teach meditation. I continued to do all my spiritual work, but not full time. And it was 5 months after that, actually, I was told, I went on a personal retreat that was guided by my spiritual teacher at the time, and I got the same message. And she said, I told you that when I met you. She said, you're a spiritual teacher. I just thought, you're crazy. You don't know what you're talking about.
well, neat.
So here I was, and it has just been a struggle to step into that. I could hide and do it quietly. That's a throat chakra issue, by the way.
Right.
To hide the truth of who I truly am, and to not express that unapologetically in the world.
Right.
So yeah, I could do it quietly, no problem, but to really step out in that was a real challenge. But as I started to, my health got better. The more I would accept the truth, the more my health got better.
Right. I forget the exact quote. It was way too many years ago, but what you're reminding me of is somebody saying something along the lines of, the lies we tell ourselves are poison, or something like that. And it was really, you speak untruths about yourself, and your body just goes, no. and yeah, so you were kind of living that.
Yeah. Some
Yeah.
pretty serious dissonance.
Yeah. Seriously. So you talked about a spiritual teacher who several times gently shook a finger at you and said, you are a spiritual teacher. You need to get out there in the world and do that. Was there anybody else who was an ally or a guide or a mentor to you that got you going?
I would say my closest friend for years, she was the one that used to say the most, you're a healer. You're a spiritual teacher. What are you doing? Why don't you just do what you're meant to do? And but even though I resisted what she was saying, I would let some of it in. I would try and entertain that. And then I said to her one day, what you say is starting to stick. I'm feeling it more and more. And what I started to realize was, when I did that work, although it was part-time and just grew and grew and grew until it really consumed a lot of my time, it was so rewarding. Like nothing compares.
Yes,
Nothing compares.
absolutely. Yes, there is nothing like it, really. You're absolutely right on that one. And so it becomes kind of this chain of mentorship, right? Somebody mentors you, gets you going, lifts you up, and then you go ahead and you lift somebody up, and they lift somebody up, and it's this lovely, let's bring the world to the level that we're meant to be.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the biggest allies and guides have been in the unseen world. It's been spirit guides who I've connected with for years and have guided me along and said, no, you need to do this now. You really need to do this. And I'd be like, okay. And so each step of the way, and like you say, I love that you say, it's a mentor or a coach or someone bolstering me up. But also when we witness another growing because of our help, that is the biggest support.
Yes. It's you can call it reinforcement, but it's a drug. I'm sorry. It's the greatest drug out there. And you and I, we're both junkies for this stuff, right? Seeing somebody just have that magic light bulb moment. When I've interviewed other entrepreneurs and I've said, what's the best part of what you do? And it's like when they transform, when they do the work and they do the thing and they're like, ah! And it works. It's great.
Yeah. It's magic
stuff. So for you, how was the folks? I mean, you said you had a good friend who was like really, pushing you forward. Was there anybody else in your world who was slightly less accepting of that? And how might you have dealt with that?
Well, even, someone else less accepting, even that friend, as I started to really step out into the world, she became incredibly jealous.
Oh.
And that was very hard on me.
Right.
And I finally eventually talked to her about it. And she finally admitted, and it's really, it's hard on the friendships. It's hard on the friendships. And I had another friend who I met while I wasn't well. And she was also a very spiritual woman. And she was super supportive. Like she's one of those kind of people, she can always see all perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
Always. Like she just has this gift.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would talk with her and she would always so lovingly give me different perspectives and she still today is such a huge support for me. Like she just really she's amazing. But I've also had, some of my close relationships, people want you to stay the same.
Right.
Because if you change, they might have to change, or what will they feel threatened if
right.
if you really change a lot. I'm still the same person. Like I said to my jealous friend, I'm still Cheryl. I am still the same person. I'm doing the work for years. You suggested I do right. more seriously. And it's okay, it's okay. And it's all energetic. So I just see that even people who may be opposed to what we're doing, or they're jealous, or they create distance or that sort of thing, it's all supportive. It's all, the universe is orchestrating, God is orchestrating all these relationships and all this stuff to really help us. And sometimes when we get the big opposition, it's really asking us, can you stand in this?
Right.
How serious are you? That no matter what, this is what you are, this is who you are and what you're doing.
Absolutely. I call this the "are you sure" moment.
Even my spiritual teachers in the school, after I wrote my first book, it didn't go down well with them. They didn't like it. Right. And at the end of the day, I had to leave the school. But we all have to do our own thing.
Right.
We all have to do our own thing.
You got to hatch somewhere. Yeah.
And sometimes it's not pretty.
No.
Or it's not how we expected it.
No, we would love to be able to say, I love you, thank you, and now I'm moving on, and they say, wow, I love you, go forth and prosper. And that's not usually how it turns out.
Oh, and that is so important to me, that that's how I am and that's how I want to be.
Right?
I want I want all the people that work with me, all my clients, it's not about rising above me, but
Right.
just empowered and go out there and do their work, do what you're
Yes.
meant to be doing.
Yes.
And I had a shamanic teacher once whose words have stuck with me so profound. He would say to us, don't just go by what I teach you. Be your own teacher. And so here I'm teaching my online energy healing program, and I have all these practitioners. There's 10 people in the group. And I keep saying to them, what is your modality? This
Right.
is mine, because I've done all kinds of various healing trainings, a multitude, including Chinese medicine. I have a diploma in acupressure, but nobody ever says, oh, if it doesn't work for you this way, you can do it your own way. They all say, this is a modality. It has to be this way. It has to be this way. And no, that. And that's not what I teach. I want you to become the teacher. That's why you're with me. And so some of the things they come up with, I just go, wow, that is so cool. I'm so glad that works for you.
Yes.
Keep testing it. Keep testing it. And then if it works for you, you know that's your way, that the way I taught you isn't ideal for you. And so the way I teach is the way I've developed. I've brought, a multitude of various modalities together, and then I teach what I've learned, and then I keep growing,
Right.
and then I am guided and I learn more, and so then I share that. But it's up to the practitioners to, like you say, really blossom and flower and get it out there. And what can I do to help you?
Yes.
Humanity needs you.
Yes. Yes. And I think it was Picasso who said, learn the rules, then break them. Right.
Yes. So
It,
true.
because that's the way art and healing and all of that is, like, learn the rules, learn the underpinnings, learn what the foundation is. And maybe there's some real truth in there, like don't eat arsenic kind of thing. It's kind of dangerous, don't do that. But and if you then learn that foundation, you can go beyond it. You
That's
could
right.
do what you want to do and take it in a whole different direction. So yeah, beautiful. That's a great way of looking at it. So Cheryl, I know that you have a really, really special gift for my viewers and listeners. And what is that?
Well, what I like to do, and I do this for the people I work with, but I also like to do it for others. I do chakra readings, and what that involves, it's just sitting across from me, and it's not a gift. I wasn't given this gift of sight. I've worked at it and developed and practiced it. But what I'm able to do is to see the chakras in others and see where the chakra is strong and what is serving them throughout their being and what needs improvement. Maybe where the wounds are, where the blocks are, and a little bit about what they can do to create those changes. And the feedback I kind of almost always get is, "Wow, you're bang on." That's what people say, and I just really trust it. It's really, I just open up to the universe flowing through me and reflecting back to the person what they really need to know. So I would like to offer a free 20-minute chakra reading to
Nice.
all your viewers, Sue, and to you as well.
Thank you. And we will have the links right there. We will also have the link for that in the end papers and in the show notes, because this is really a cool thing. I'm not too sure what you might charge for that, Cheryl, but I know people who charge anywhere from $150 to $250 to do this.
Oh,
So
it's $250 for an
yeah,
hour. So
this
it's
is
on my website. If you want to pay and have a
valuable.
longer one, that works too.
this is a really valuable thing to get insight into what might be getting in your way and what you might do to, play with those big hairy monsters, do the dance, and get off that dance floor and on something different. So thank you, Cheryl. This has been a wonderful, wonderful interview. Your hero's journey is fabulous. And I want to thank you again for taking the time to be on my show.
It has just been such a joy, and I love how you inspire others. And I think the big thing is that humanity is evolving, and that's what you're participating in, and you're helping others do the same by your own evolution. So I'm so grateful. Thank you so much, Sue.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you to all of my viewers and listeners of the Sweet Sound of Success. What are your dreams for your business? You know what drives me crazy? Really smart business owners denying their talents because they've been taught it has to be hard, because they've been taught that they don't deserve their gifts, that they're not worth anything. They've been taught that their gender means they can't express their genius. I'm Sue Wilhite, and I want you to have access to your genius. I want you to go out and rock the world with your genius. So I created the Call to Action Coaching Program. It's all about getting to the heart of you and what you've got to share with the world to make a profitable business that thrives and allows you to make a difference in the world. Click the link to sign up for the Call to Action Coaching Program today. Don't let your genius go unnoticed.